course, we'd like to submit this form as soon as possible to see what it does. So let's take a look at the sessions controller. Let's see what the state of it is now. Right, we've got this new action because of the generate command we ran. And we're also going to want a create and destroy action. So let's think about what is create going to do. We can look at the user's controller, just to remind ourselves. Remember, with the create action in the user's controller, we started off with this render new. On a failed creation, we just render back the new page, which in this case is the sign up page. So we'd like to do the same thing here. So let's just start off, render new. Of course, we're going to change this once we actually start logging users in. While we're at it, let's make a destroy method. So let's take a look at the effect of that. If I click login, something should actually happen. There we go. You can look at the debug information here at the bottom. We've got this params hash, session is the key, and then it has another hash inside it, key value pairs, email, and password. Let's put a debugger in here. Refresh this here. Remember what this does, this gives us a nice little prompt here in the server window. Let's take a look at the params hash. So this is params, so params of session. Actually, will this work? Wow, that does work. That's cool. If you look here, it looks like it's a string, but apparently we can actually access this using the symbol session. So this is the params that will end up in this create action. That's where we put the debugger, right? So in particular, we can do this. We can pull out the email with params of session of email. If you think about what's involved in logging a user in, what we're going to need to do is find the user first by this email address, and then authenticate the user using the password. So that will make use of the user model from lesson 6. We can actually do it right here. User.find of this params of email should return the first user. This is just hanging though, so I think maybe we don't have access to the database inside this debugger, which is unfortunate. Oh, we do have it. That's weird. So why didn't that work? Oh, we need to not find of params, we need to find by the email. There we go. This should work. There we go. Great. So this line here will let us pull out the user based on the email address, and then we can use the authenticate method, like this. To see if the user is authenticated based on the password. And that will be params of session of password. Remember, authenticate actually returns the user and not true or false, but in a Boolean context, that means that this is true. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if the user is not nil, so that we can just say if user. Remember, nil is false. So if the user and user.authenticate, let's paste this in here. This combination will be true if and only if the user exists in the database based on the email address and the user is authenticated. So this is a little bit complicated, this line, but this is very idiomatically correct Rails in terms of the way that you would ordinarily pull a user out of the database and authenticate it based on a login form submission. So if user and user.authenticate, if this is true, well, actually what we want to do is evaluate this in a Boolean context. So let's just do bang bang. So this is actually the right user. This user exists and it's authenticated, so this should be true. There we go. So this is how we're going to log a user in. So let's paste that into our controller. So user.findBy email of params. Here we go. So let's get rid of this debugger line. So the create action will create a new session by first finding the user, and then if this is true, then we'll log the user in. redirect to the user show page or the profile page. Else, we're going to render new, and we want to create some sort of error message. Remember, we can't do that with the error message as partial, but we'll do something else that'll be almost as good. All right, so this is the basic structure of the create action. And so all we need to do now to handle a failed login attempt is to create an error message here.